Welcome to the January 6th edition of the PFF Forecast. We have decided to record this podcast. So we're going to talk about the wildcard games. And that is it. We're going to have a really fun guest on. Kevin Clark was going to join us. We're going to do some fun stuff with the playoffs and kind of ranking the playoff teams and all that. I had some great Bachelor content prepared.
I know.
I did my work ahead of time. I was going to compare playoff teams to contestants, but in light of everything, none of that feels really appropriate. So what we're going to do is what we think makes the most sense. Acknowledge that this is a very embarrassing, sad, disgraceful time in our country, and yet we want to give people a reprieve if they want 30 minutes of it.
This is a day where I think both of us have been a little bit of like, what do we do here? We do want to respect the fact that, you know, some people need a break, and
you and I included, buddy.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, things are resolved by the weekend, and we can enjoy what I think will be the best football weekend of the year. We have 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, and then Monday the BCS National Championship game. BCS. The College Football Playoff National Championship. But yeah, I mean, this is a tough day, but we will, for those of you that listen along, we surely appreciate you, and we want to give you guys some content in case that's your thing here. So what game do you want to talk about first?
It's our thing here. I need this as much as you need it.
Yeah.
You know, we spent a good amount of our afternoon, you know, watching the news, and I'm sure you guys have too, and this is our opportunity to talk about football. And so that's what we're going to do. And if you want to listen along, we thank you. And we hope you guys stay safe and continue to support, you know, the continued improvement of our country in ways that make sense, like donating to good causes and voting and all that stuff. With that said, let's just start at the beginning. How about that? The first game on Saturday, I am very confused by this game. The Colts, they're in Buffalo. The Bills are now 6.5. It's gotten to 7. It's come back to 6.5 point favorites, total of 51. We sat at this desk on Sunday night and we talked about the Bills being so much better than the Colts. They're the hottest offense in the NFL right now. They have the quarterback that is closest to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Yep. Do you feel like you've been a little slapped in the face? Our model kind of points to value on the Colts at plus 6.5.
And, you know, the market has responded to it. Was 7. They got it down to 6.5. Here's the way I think about this game. The Colts can slow play Buffalo into making mistakes. That's the way I think the Colts can cover this number. They're very good up front with Buckner, Houston, Darius Leonard, obviously in the middle there. I believe all those guys are healthy. And Josh Allen, for as good of a season he's had, and he's had a fantastic season, is second in the NFL in turnover-worthy plays, total. The way that you win this game is you do what the Buffalo Bills try to do to the Kansas City Chiefs in week 6 or 7, is you play too high, you force the Bills to run the football, you force the Bills to throw short, you force the Bills to try to cross the street 10 times each time on the way to the end zone, and you get a turnover or 2. And that's how you do it. The problem that I have is on the other side of the football with Phillip Rivers. I think he's played well this year for him, but I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the game in which he, you know, can elevate himself. Cold weather, you know, they don't have the greatest receivers in the world, especially when you factor in Tre'Davious White's ability to shut down one of them. That's where I stand. They do have an advantage in that they can run the football better than Buffalo, and Buffalo doesn't stop the run well. So that's maybe one advantage. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines.
I'm so torn because I've been thinking about these matchups in this way. What is a strength that one team has that the other team does not? And what are the flaws of each team? Okay, the Bills have like a strength, a trump card. Wrong time to use that phrase, but like they have a superpower, so to speak, with the explosiveness of Allen and Diggs that the Colts simply do not, right? And you can the running game is impressive. They have a great offensive line, all that stuff, but they're not explosive in that way, right? That's why the Bills rank 4th in EPA per play and the Colts rank 11th, right? The Colts are just this good team. That's all they are. They're 11th in offense and 11th in defense in EPA per play. Phillip Rivers is 17th in PFF grade. Josh Allen is 5th, right? Like they have the explosiveness. The Miami Dolphins are a better defense than the Indianapolis Colts. Would you agree there?
Sure.
They're a defense.
Yeah, they're a defense.
With talented players and a good play caller. And the Buffalo Bills, in a game they didn't really need to win, just went and torched them.
Rolled them.
Yeah, so like that's where I really struggle with this because I do think there is some value on the underdogs in these games in a league that probably is more compressed than we think it is. So that's why I'm a huge fan of teasing this, like we were on
Buffalo down to the half point. Yeah, I don't hate that either. Notice, and my friend Rufus Peabody called me out on this, which was smart on the Pinnacle Pod. Don't tease Pittsburgh from 6-0 because there are no games that land on 0 in the playoffs. And even this one's a little tricky because you're not getting through the 7. You are getting through the 3 and the 4. Total on the game 51 makes it a little bit more dubious, but it is you don't have that many options, and betting is partially entertainment and partially about finding value. So I don't mind the teasing of Buffalo. I have a hard time seeing the Colts winning this game. I do think that they can keep it close. So that's kind of where I sit here on this one. It's going to be one bet I did make. So I went to Indiana yesterday to cash all my futures from the regular season. And I was trying to think about what to bet. And even though this will show you how little I feel about this week as far as sides and totals. The bet that I put the most money on was the first quarter over in this game.
What was that?
9.5.
Oh, buddy.
Minus like 1/3. I had to lay a little bit of a price, but if you look at my Twitter feed, one of the last things I did tweet was, I know, it's a joke. One of the last things I tweeted was the quick start, the 15 plays, and the Colts have one of the best passing games in the first 15 plays of games this year. Buffalo doesn't run the football, and they average about a quarter of an expected point on scripted plays. So this is a game that I think gets out to a fast start. To me, if we're looking for a lock of the week, that's an option.
I like that a lot. What if you had to bet a side for the entirety of the game?
I'd go with our numbers and take Indianapolis plus the 6.5.
That's basically what I will tease. I would take the Colts if I had to pick one side of this game. I really like the fast start, especially because for the Colts, at the start of the game, they're not going to have to rely on Phillip Rivers to drop back. Like they can leverage some of the things that can protect him. And the deeper you get into the game, and we've seen this in the second halves, especially against the Steelers, right? Like Phillip Rivers is not, if it's not schemed up for him, he's probably not creating it. So I like that one quite a bit. Okay, let's move on to the midday game. This is on Nickelodeon, by the way. Not Nick at Night, but Nickelodeon. It feels right. Jared Goff and Russell Wilson playing on Nickelodeon.
Jared Goff possibly. I don't even think.
Well, this number's moved down. Don't you think that means the market believes that Goff will play? Was 4.5. It's now 3.5.
Can we pause? So there's a couple things about this game. It should be a great game, and it's not. And it's not because of some bullshit that's happened this year. The Seattle Seahawks overreacting to starting 6-3. And then not like 7-2, 8-1, and becoming the old Seahawks. The biggest indictment I can think of is the Seahawks being favored by a field goal against some amalgam of John Wolford and fucking Jared Goff. Like how downhill is your season?
How did we get here?
Total on the game 42.5. Okay.
That to me is the saddest part.
Are you not looking in the mirror and thinking to yourself, what happened?
Remember,
you were that stupid ass leverage penalty in Arizona away from being the 1 seed in the NFC, and now you're a field goal and a half favorite against John Wolford at home. And then if you're the Rams, the fact that this number has moved 1 point, and the fact that they hung a number and a total without knowing who your starting quarterback is, when one of your quarterbacks is a $30 million quarterback and the other one is an AAF superstar, is the biggest Like normally when the starting quarterback's unknown, they don't hang the total or they slow play
they put
the
it
line.
out there. It wasn't even missing on Sunday night.
It was there, man. And I'm telling you, like, this game is the biggest self-own, right? Los Angeles, great defense. Tremendous, Ramsey, Mike Renner said 20 yards per game. Like, that's one of the more impressive coverage feats we've ever seen. Obviously, Aaron Donald's great. Seattle's defense has played better. I don't think it's a good defense. I don't think I could touch this game with a 40-foot pole, given all these things.
This is the one I think I have the hardest time betting on a side. I would bet the Rams at 4.5 if it were there. Here's, I think, the play that I like the most on this game. The over.
Okay.
Because 42.5 for Russell Wilson and Sean McVay is still a disgrace. It still is. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson maybe it's been a bad end of the season.
Awful.
He managed to eke into the top 7, tied for 6th in PFF grade, but it has not been inspiring. But I just keep coming back to the Seahawks games in honor of the guest that we almost had.
They never play a normal game.
Yeah. And I just feel like this goes back and forth. I know that Sean McVay will come out with some good stuff. I don't have any faith in the Seahawks defense. I think that's a ridiculous thing if that's what you're betting on. And as much as I love what the Rams do, look, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, I've said this a million times, like, you're picking them 1-2 if you're picking defensive players. But Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf are going to figure some things out. And Tyler Lockett is healthy as he was not in the playoffs last year.
You sure hope so. I mean, here's the thing. First Rams game this year, 39 points. Second Rams game, 29 points. Familiarity does breed contempt. The Rams game so the last time these two teams had a barn burner was that cool Thursday night game we did the Quibi thing for. and every other game has been like 40 or under. We do know that third meetings between teams often yield lower scoring games. Second meetings actually lower than the first meetings. So that would be my only concern. But you're right. If you're going to bet a side of this game, you bet the over here. I know our friend Ross, when I was on his show today, he wanted the under. I can't morally bet an under.
He likes pain, though.
42.5 in an NFL game. Weather should be okay, if I'm not mistaken.
The storms are on the other side of the country.
Yeah, fuck. Saturday, no rain. 44 should be easy.
Okay. That one's tricky. That if I were going to lay off a game, I think that's.
Don't you agree with my assessment though that it's like the woat? If you're one of both of these teams should view this game as an insult.
I agree. I 100% agree. Tampa Bay goes to Washington, we think, to play the football team. This is Bucks by 7.5. 8 now.
8, yeah.
Total 45. And I keep hearing this narrative. The Washington football team is going to get pressure on Tom Brady with 4 players, and we all know that Tom Brady crumbles under pressure. We've seen his numbers.
Right.
Yada, yada. I've seen the same stat on SportsCenter like 15 times. Okay. He's bad under pressure. Whoops.
Every single quarterback is, except for Justin Herbert, apparently. He broke the mold.
Right. I want to remind people of how frequently this season Tom Brady has been pressured. Would you care to gander a guess?
23%.
Oh, very close. 24%. 24.4.
You're welcome.
4th lowest total percentage in the NFL. You know how he accomplishes that? He gets rid of the ball quickly.
No. Tampa Bay spends millions and millions and millions of dollars on the offensive line, as I'm assured by every bad quarterback's fan base.
Right.
No, he protects his offensive line, as Chris said.
He's the only quarterback in the NFL that has an average depth of target in the top 5 and a top 5 quickest time to throw. If I could speak, that'd be easier. But what that says is he still pushes the ball downfield and he gets the ball out quickly. And you know how he does that? He has good receivers that get open. I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing from Antonio Brown. They're throwing the ball on early downs. They're the best team on first and second downs since the bye. They're using play action 5% more than they were in the past. I am willing to bet on Tom Brady in this game, especially because Alex Smith, I just...
Yeah. No,
I'm really struggling to see how they score. So
Brady is the second most valuable player in the NFL this year per PFF 4. I don't think Mahomes is 4th, followed by Watson at 3, Brady at 2. Brady had 40 touchdown passes. I don't think that many people realize that Brady had 40 touchdown passes. I had a ticket on him under 32.5. I obviously did not win that bet. He's had a great year, and they have really good weapons. And, you know, as much as I think Arians could hold them back, I think Arians is a little bit overrated as a play caller. They're going to score enough for this game to be tough. I think Tampa -2 is probably the nicest tease line of like the whole playoffs because you get through the 7, you get through the 3. But how does Washington even cover this number? They cover this number in a 17-13 way where they maybe get a turnover touchdown or some short fields, which is certainly possible with Brady the way that they play offense there. But it's hard to see Tampa losing this football game, and that's why when you look at our numbers, you look at the futures, which you can find on FanDuel and DraftKings. Tampa's the 4th most likely team to win the Super Bowl,
and that's why we talked about it on the live show, pregame show on Sunday. Like, they also have the potential for real home field advantage if they make it to the Super Bowl, because they.
It might be their only home.
It might be their only real home game, right? Like, and so that's something to consider as well. The number is 8. So this is the one that I would tease with the Bills here. It gets you down to 2, cross 7, cross 3. I feel good about that. If you're a little worried about Chase Young, whooping on Tristan Wirfs and that offensive line, then that's like what you do. And it should be mentioned that like, Chase Young has been great. Tristan Wirfs has been awesome.
Yeah.
And that was the guy that we talked about. We're going to start talking about, the draft very shortly. He was a guy that the projections absolutely loved and has been really great for the Bucs. Is he the highest graded offensive rookie? I believe that he is the second to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Nope, it was. Tampa's done a really good job this year. They've had a little bit of struggles with, Devin White's been a really good blitzer, but not a good coverage guy.
In this game.
But I don't think that Washington's going to be able to stretch. I mean, the game of the year, it's lining up. If the chalk wins out, if Saints Seahawks win, Bucks win, Bucks Packers week 2 is going to be about as fun as it gets, right? Brady has never. So this is funny. Brady has never. We talked about how he's never played Andy Dalton before in the playoffs, so that's still true. Brady has never played a road playoff game until the championship game. So he's always either had the bye or when they were in round 1, they were a division winner. This is the first time in his career he's playing a road playoff game before the NFC or AFC championship game. So it'll be uncharted waters for him. But can you imagine Brady, Rodgers, Lambeau Field next week?
What's the spread of that game?
Green Bay -3.
Wow.
Yeah. Green Bay, don't you think Green Bay -3? That's probably fair.
I'm going to give him the hook.
Ooh.
I'm going to give him 3.5.
Do you think people are going to overreact to the first time when Tampa Bay just pounded the shit out of them?
Okay, so this is a shameless plug for the Chris Collinsworth podcast. On there this week, it was a cool moment for me. Devontae Adams was on there. I sit on the Zoom call and listen and, whatever.
Fresno guy.
Not Fresno guy. Went to Fresno, but he's an East Palo Alto guy. Palo Alto, 5 minutes away from where I grew up. In fact, I played basketball growing up in East Palo Alto, and one of his close friends was a guy I played with on a traveling team. Anyways, no one cares about that. But what he mentioned about that game, first off, go listen to the podcast. There's a reason this guy's the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's fucking brilliant. Like, Richard Sherman comes off as knowing his shit. Devontae Adams has it figured out. Like, this guy is awesome. And I have apologized profusely to all of the Packers fans, Aaron Nagler included. Devontae Adams is wide receiver 1, and I'm sorry. But he mentioned in that game that they just didn't really have a game plan for what Tampa Bay put at them on offense. And he said throughout the season, they've gotten way better at adjusting in the moment to what the game plans are for opposing defenses. And that game had a huge impact on it. They're not going to catch him by surprise a second time.
Okay.
That's why I think it's 3.5. That's why I think it should be 3.5.
And Green Bay probably has some home field edge.
They have a real home field edge.
They have an edge from gaining the bye. So, okay.
But let me tell you this.
Our power numbers, for what it's worth, we have Green Bay at 7.5 points better than the average. We have Tampa Bay at 5.4. Tampa wins this game pretty handily. That might go up by like a half a point. So there's the 1.5 points, but then you give Green Bay maybe a point off a bye, maybe another half for being at home, and there you go.
I'd give them a full, depending on what the weather is, I'd give them a full point and a half. Because is there anything more drastic than going from Tampa Bay to Lambeau?
No, but Brady has this experience.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not worried about Brady. I'm worried about everyone else.
Yeah, you're worried about, the Florida boys going up there and playing and being cold. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
We're teasing it. Okay, we're on to Sunday. Moving right along. This game's going to be fucking awesome, too. There's some great matchups. I can't fucking wait for this weekend. Hopefully we make it through there.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Tennessee. This one is on ESPN.
Luckily, you said Washington. They get tucked into Landover, Maryland.
Right.
No one goes there. No one. Look, that'd be the last place these protesters, these rioters want to go.
No one's marching all the way over there. Even the guy in the bear suit.
I mean, the Washington football team barely gets there every time.
Look, it was the closest the Vikings got to the playoffs, so let's give them a hand. The Baltimore Ravens traveled to Tennessee in a rematch of last year's
linings, by the way.
Last year's shocking upset. What was the line in that? I want to say
10.
It was 10, and it fluctuated a little bit. Tennessee just, it was a shocking game to watch.
It was a weird game, right? Because Lamar had like 500 yards total offense.
Right, because he just started throwing the ball. They were out of it so early that, they abandoned ship. So I'm curious. We talked about this on Sunday night, and I brought up the point that Baltimore just hasn't played anyone yet. Lately. They just have not. The best team they've played in the last month and a half was the Cleveland Browns. And they beat them 47-42 in the game of the year. Other than that, it's been the Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Bengals, a total disaster. But they've steamrolled them. Tennessee, meanwhile, loses pretty embarrassingly to Green Bay in a game that they were not ready to play in snow. And then barely beats the Houston Texans. So I think people are saying, look, they're not as good a team as we thought they were.
Yeah.
But here's my thought. Green Bay is awesome. It's very hard to play in snow. This game's not going to be played in snow. And Deshaun Watson is awesome. And so, I'm giving the Tennessee Titans maybe a little bit of a bump back to reality, I guess.
Oh, there goes. So here's the thing. Neither one of these teams can play. Neither one of these teams want to play from behind, which of course that's stupid to say because no one wants to play from behind. But the Chiefs the Chiefs are fine playing from behind. The Packers are worse than they normally are, but they're fine playing from behind.
The Bills
can play from behind, I think, better than most teams.
The Bucks.
Seattle, we would actually prefer they play from behind, so they actually add some entertainment value to the game. Neither one of these teams is built that way. This sounds silly. The Titans are a better come-from-behind team than Baltimore Ravens are. We saw that in the November game. They got behind by multiple scores. They come back and win the football game. The problem I have is the likelihood that one of these two teams gets ahead. And I think the likelihood that the Ravens get out ahead is far higher than the likelihood that Tennessee will get out ahead. Tennessee can't hold a lead to save their life. The Watson, they were down 24-9. They were kicking field goals early in the game. And, all it was one Derrick Henry fumble. Against Green Bay, it was a couple interceptions by Tannehill. They're not perfect enough on offense necessarily to do what they need to do from to basically keep leads. And their defense is just a bleeding nose, right? So this one's really tough. I do think there's one play here, and it's the over, 54.5. Down from 55 if we look at Tennessee weather.
should we ask? Never mind. Knoxville. This one's being played in Nashville.
Would he really even give an accurate reading if we asked?
No.
So why do we even ask?
So 54.5. That's the play on this game that I like the most. The spread here is tricky. I think if I had to take one side, I'm taking Tennessee with the 3.5. If it's 3, I'm really struggling.
Barely any wind, 43 mile per hour, barely any precipitation. So the pieces are in place, as they say.
Here's the thing with the Baltimore Ravens offense. They have played teams that cannot stop the run, and they have ran on them. The Titans are a very good team. The reason they're a very good team, it ain't the defense. The Titans have the second best offense in the NFL in EPA per play and the 28th best defense. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens are 10th in offense and 6th in defense. So if you're thinking about how this game goes, and I love the way that you put that there, both teams want to play from ahead. The team more likely to get ahead is the Baltimore Ravens, who first off are coming out for blood, right? Like this is a huge game for them, okay? They have ran the ball really effectively with option runs. They're averaging over 8 yards per attempt on those plays. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, like he's clearly more explosive than Mark Ingram. Oh. So you see the Ravens get out ahead. That forces the Titans to pass. That's different than the Ravens being forced to pass. Okay, when the Ravens are forced to pass, may God have mercy on your soul. Like that is tough. But at least the Tennessee Titans might say, okay, we're down 7. Let's throw a couple play action shots in there early. Let's let A.J. Brown get loose. Let's give Corey Davis a few chances. That is the way that I think this game goes, and I think that is very beneficial for the over. So I'm here for the over.
Yep. I like it.
Shall we move on? Or did you have another point?
Yeah, no, I like this. I like the over was the play the last time they played, and should be the case here. Can we just skip over Chicago, New Orleans? This game's gonna suck.
I have such a hard time with this game, man, because
I sweat through the over the last time they played. That's
Foles. What we're doing again.
The indoors is helpful. Trubisky, 27% of Trubisky's passes positively graded, which is good. 18% are negatively graded, which is one of the worst in football. There's going to be a ton of variance in this game. New Orleans defense is really good. Like as far as, if defense carried from week to week, they'd be the best one. So that'd be my worry. They completely clamped down on Bridgewater and then eventually Philip Walker the other day, but they scored 33 points themselves. The really issue I have with this is,
by the way, spread of 10, total 47.
The real issue I have with this is that I think Chicago's defense is good, but they're banged up. So it might be an over situation here.
I'm here for the over. I also think if you have to bet a side, Chicago is the side. And the reason for that is Drew Brees is maybe not the Drew Brees you remember. He's the 20th ranked quarterback. His PFF grade ranks 20th, and Mitchell Trubisky has been, very terrible, 33rd. But I think everyone's used to Drew Brees like slicing and dicing people up. Now he gets Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas back, but that's why I'm hesitant to take the Saints with a big number here, especially without the normal home field they have. I mean, Kirk Cousins came in there and beat them with the crowd, and this is a Saints team that I don't think is as good. So if you're going to pick one side of this, I'd take the Bears plus 10 and then probably have at least 4 drinks before this game starts.
Michael Thomas going to play this game. That's, I think, a big one if you like the over here.
A cool matchup also in this game is going to be Khalil Mack, who, poor guy, he's the highest graded edge defender this year.
Most valuable edge player in football. Been
absolutely brilliant. And he's going to be, depending on what side he's on, either against Armstead or Ramczyk. And that'll be very interesting to see what they do there. Do they leave those guys on an island? Are they helping out with him? Because that's the way they win this game. You get Drew Brees to kind of turn into a pumpkin here, which we've seen happen before.
Yeah, and that's I think a really that's a really important part of the handicap here, where as many of the so like right now, what's happening right now? You have really good edge players in this playoff, but a lot of them play for the kind of the crappier teams. So like and interior players. So Aaron Donald's the best defensive lineman in football. He's probably like they're underdogs this weekend. Chase Young's one of the best edge players in all of football. He's an underdog this weekend. Khalil Mack, underdog this weekend. Myles Garrett, underdog this weekend. Like, is this setting up for the Packers not necessarily to miss David Bakhtiari that much? Possibly.
I said this before. They are set up perfectly to be able to handle that loss. They have home field. They're going to force opposing defenses to play on that, shit, right? And Aaron Rodgers is better at throwing in rhythm and quickly now than he was last year by miles, and it's what has carried them here. Their execution is at a new level. That's another thing that I learned from Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, the Sunday night football game, we think, is the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. You were willing to lay, to give me
2-1.
2-1, right? That this game would be played on. You were going to get the plus side of that, and it was going to
later date.
It was going to move to a later date.
I misspoke because I forgot that Ohio State versus Alabama was Monday. Although that might be moved because Ohio State's got the COVID cases.
That ain't getting moved.
It's crazy though, right? Because this was before the Stefanski thing happened, and this is before the what's his name, Joel Bitonio thing happened. Obviously, you still have there's a ton of players on that COVID list that are and they haven't practiced yet this week.
Mm-hmm.
They've been virtual the whole time. Number 6.
This number is ballooned. Okay, so it was 3.5.
Oh.
I was sharp once again. You knew
the COVID cases would happen.
Sharp. No, but it moved even before that.
Yeah, it got to 4.5.
It got to 4.5.
The real Stefanski move has been about 1.5 and kind of the less valuable 1.5. The 5
is that
and
fair?
6. I think it's a bit much. I would take Cleveland here plus 6 if I had to. I'm going to lay off this game almost completely because of the uncertainty surrounding the COVID stuff. I mean, this is unprecedented. Mike Prefer, okay, he has coached a game before. He's also said some really fun, interesting things. We don't know. We don't know how he's going to handle it. Alex Van Pelt's never called plays, so we don't know how that's going to work out.
Look, I wish this line hadn't moved so much, but I love my 3.5 bet. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm in love. I could not be more in love with a bet that I have this week. And I'm sorry. I almost hope for people that this gets out to 6.5, 7, 7.5, so that people can tease this game down. Okay? I came on this very podcast and I called the Pittsburgh Steelers overrated. They kind of stunk it up from then on out.
Yeah, now you're
I'm going to reverse the juju here for you.
Turnabout is fair play.
Pittsburgh Steelers are ready to roll in this game. They're going to throw the ball deep and quick with Ben Roethlisberger. That's something that he excels at. They've started doing it over the past 6 quarters. They almost beat the Cleveland Browns with Mason Rudolph and, as my boy Seth Galina points out, basically the most vanilla defense on the planet. Okay? In that first week, they blitzed Baker 39% of the time. He was under pressure 45% of the time. It was a nightmare. In this most recent game, they blitzed under 30%. He was under pressure less than 30% of the time. And they played Mason Rudolph and a bunch of too high shell coverages. And they almost won the game. I'm sorry.
Are we sure Mason Rudolph's that much worse than Big Ben? I'm just joking.
I know. But that's the beautiful thing is we are.
Yeah.
Big Ben might not be playing great. He's certainly not. But Mason Rudolph, I mean, holy God. Holy mighty one. Holy immortal one. So I'm not taking it at 6. I'm teasing this if it gets 6.5, 7. I'm very happy that I bet the Steelers at 3.5.
We're happy for you.
That's that. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to pick a sleeper to win the Super Bowl. They can't be a 1 or a 2 seed. Those are the only rules.
I'm going to go with last year's 1 seed in the AFC. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Our Ravens. Lamar Jackson, I think, offers something unique. Their defense is, mostly intact, and John Harbaugh uses all 4 downs.
I like that one quite a bit. You know where I'm going with this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It would be too perfect. That's why they have to play in Lambeau. That's going to be an incredibly tough game, but
fourth most likely team to win the Super Bowl per the betting markets, despite the fact there's no guarantee they'll have a home game until the Super Bowl.
Which, hey, that matters. Anyways, they're a sleeper. How is that possible? Incredible. I wish we haven't done a bet, you and I, in a while.
No.
Do you want to do some sort of playoff bet? Is there any game that we actually differ on?
Well, what about futures? Who makes it further maybe is a good one.
We could do that.
Could it be out of teams that play this week? Because at Green Bay, so if you read our article, there's value on, and I hate saying this as a Chiefs fan, there's value on Green Bay in the betting markets. Here's why. They're not properly pricing in the opportunity for Washington to beat Tampa, in my opinion. Like an 8-point spread, you're talking about a 1 in 5-4 chance. If that happens, Green Bay's odds go up drastically, because not only do you get a bye in round 1, you get a bye in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And like we make it more like 22%. I think the markets break evens like 18-19% on DraftKings, and so
told you to bet it on Sunday before the games.
We did,
at plus 550.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's plus 450.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Plus 700 earlier, by the way. We're holding it a little bit. I even wrote them up in my futures article at plus 26.
Well, you're a savant.
So let's, okay. Which team do you think will go the furthest among the teams here in wild card round?
The Buffalo Bills.
Okay. How about I take...
That was who you're going to take.
No. I'll take...
I'll let you pick the NFC team first.
I'll take Baltimore.
I don't know how that's even going to work. Okay. All right, now pick your NFC team.
New Orleans.
Oh.
Obviously, that's chalky, but...
Yeah.
But you get a better quarterback.
I get the better quarterback.
Seattle. I mean, there's no way you're taking the Rams.
No.
Even an LA guy like you.
I'm taking Tom Brady.
Rams or St. Louis still to you, I feel like.
Give me Tom Brady.
Ooh.
Give me the Bucs.
So my pro Green Bay stance. So
because at least I feel confident that they'll win this game, right? Like taking Seattle and LA, like one of those teams, football.
Ravens might not even win round 1. Buffalo might not either, but I think Buffalo.
So how are we doing this? Like a certain number of points if they make it past this round?
So I can go 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have that be the number of stake dinners. We split.
Okay, I like it. I still don't totally understand the bet. If you don't understand the bet, rewind.
If they make it to round, so AFC against AFC, NFC against NFC, how's that go? So if the Ravens get further than the Bills, that's 1 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then if the Saints don't get as far as Tampa, that's 1 for you. Then we split.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
okay.
AFC, NFC, and if they tie, then it can be 1-0-1, right? So there's it's like our PFF grade system. There's 2, 1, 0.
We could split. We could end up doing this whole segment for nothing.
Yeah.
But anyways, we tried. All right, that was our show. We hope everyone stays safe. We love you guys. We thank you all for tuning in. We will be back on Sunday night after Sunday Night Football. It's one of the last dead tired in the middle of the night podcasts, so enjoy it.
Yep.
See you guys.